Well, welcome to another edition of Traveling Through History. Tonight we have a very special episode for you. We're going to be talking about a man and a book that I learned about many years ago when I was getting my master's in business administration, or my MBA. And the instructor in our second year there had all of us read this book called Art of War from Sun Tzu, who was an ancient military commander in the Chinese military back in 400 BC. And very interesting, we all were kind of confused as to why this professor would ask us to read a military treatise when it comes in the context of business. But after we read the book, we understood very well. It has many practical current day applications and really applies to any generation or any time in history you would be born in. It's a really fascinating book. This man, Sun Tzu himself, we don't know very much about from history. And what we do know about him, we will tell you about it tonight in this program. But for the most part, what he's the most famous for is being the author of one of the top 10 books of all time, and that is The Art of War. So we're going to go into Sun Tzu, his life. We're going to go into The Art of War, the book itself, the 13 chapters. We'll talk about each of those and the impact that that book has had on military and business and other societal strategies and impacts and aspects of our society. And we will get into all those things. We'll look at a couple of short videos. We're going to look at some of the most famous quotes out of this book. It's one of the most quoted books in world history. And then at the very end of the program, we're going to talk about some practical applications of the art of war in your everyday life and in your business life. So it's going to be a very interesting dive into Sun Tzu, the military commander, and into The Art of War, his very famous military treatise, which has practical applications. So let's go ahead and get into it. So Sun Tzu is a Chinese military general, strategist, philosopher, and writer who lived during the Eastern Zhou period, which was from 771 to 256 BC. Sun Tzu is traditionally credited as the author of The Art of War, one of the most famous books in world history, an influential work of military strategy that has affected both Western and Eastern philosophy, military thought, and business thought. Sun Tzu is revered in Chinese and East Asian culture as a legendary historical and military figure. His birth name was Sun Wu, and he was known outside of his family by the courtesy name Changqing. The name Sun Tzu, by which he is more popularly known, is an honorific name that he was given called Master Sun. Sun Tzu mastered the military science of ancient China and created the military doctrine of asymmetrical warfare, which is even used today. According to it, an attack on the enemy should begin only after the enemy has no opportunity to either defend or counterattack. It was used in the wars in the era of the warring states in ancient China, which was about 475 to 221 BC. And from what we know, Sun Tzu was actually born in the 400s BC. Those combat combinations had specific names, descriptions, and classifications. Sun Tzu's historicity is uncertain. The Han Dynasty historian Sima Wan and other traditional Chinese historians placed him as a minister to the king Helatu of Wu and dated his lifetime from 544 to 496 BC. Many modern scholars accepting the historicity, place, and extent of text of the art of war in the later warring states period of 475 to 221 BC, based on its style of composition and its descriptions of warfare. Traditional accounts state that the general's descendant Sun Bin wrote a treatise on military tactics also titled The Art of War, which was a precursor to this book. Since both Sun Wu and Sun Bin were referred to as Sun Tzu in classical Chinese texts, some historians believe them identical prior to the rediscovery of Sun Bin's treatise in 1972. So there was a while there in our history and all the way back several hundred years where they thought Sun Tzu and Sun Bin were the same person and it was the same book. They've now discovered they were two individuals and two separate books, although a very similar topic. Sun Tzu's work has been praised and employed throughout the arc of East Asian military history since its composition, and eventually earned global attention. During the 20th century, the art of war grew in popularity and saw practical use in the Western world as well in many different wars and conflicts. It remains influential in many contemporary competitive endeavors across the modern world beyond military strategy and warfare, including espionage, culture, governance, business, and sports. The oldest available sources disagree as to where Sun Tzu was born. The Spring and Autumn Annals and Sima Wan's later records of the Grand Historian state that Sun Tzu was born in Qi, China. Both sources also agree that Sun Tzu was born in the late Spring and Autumn period and that he was active as a general and strategist, serving in King Helu's army of Wu in the 6th century BC. Beginning around 512 BC, Sun Tzu's victory then inspired him to write The Art of War. The Art of War was one of the most widely read military treatises in the subsequent Warring States period, a time of constant war among 7 ancient states: Zhou, Qi, Qin, Chu, Han, Wei, and Yan. So those 7 states were always warring with each other over several centuries. They all fought for control of the vast expanse of fertile territory in eastern China. One of the better known stories about Sun Tzu, taken from Sima Wan, illustrates Sun Tzu's temperament as follows. Before hiring Sun Tzu, the king of Wu tested Sun Tzu's skills by commanding him to train a harem of 180 concubines into soldiers. Sun Tzu divided them into 2 companies, appointing the 2 concubines most favored by the king as the company commanders. When Sun Tzu first ordered the concubines to face right, they giggled. In response, Sun Tzu said that the general, in this case himself, was responsible for ensuring that soldiers understood the commands given to them. Then he reiterated the command, and again the concubines giggled. Sun Tzu then ordered the execution of the king's 2 favored concubines. To the king's protest, he explained that if the general's soldiers understood their commands but did not obey, it was the fault of the officers. Sun Tzu also said that once the general was appointed, it was his duty to carry out his mission, even if the king protested. After both concubines were killed, new officers were chosen to replace them. Afterward, both companies, now well aware of the costs of further frivolity, performed their maneuvers flawlessly after that. Sima Wan claimed that Sun Tzu later proved on the battlefield that his theories were effective. For example, his great victory in the Battle of Boju, that he had successful military career, and that later he wrote The Art of War based on his tested experience on the battlefield itself. Around the 12th century AD, some Chinese scholars began to doubt the historical existence of Sun Tzu himself, on the grounds that he is not mentioned in the historical classic Zhou Zhan, which mentions most of the notable figures from the Spring of Autumn period in China. The name Sun Wu does not appear in any of the texts prior to the records of the Grand Historian. It may have been a made-up description, meaning the fugitive warrior. The surname Sun can be glossed as the related term fugitive, while Wu is the ancient Chinese virtue of martial or valiant, which corresponds to Sun Tzu's role as the hero and the doppelganger in the story Wu Zhu. The only historical battle attributed to Sun Tzu, the Battle of Boju, has no record of him fighting in that battle. Skeptics cite possible historical inaccuracies and anachronisms in the text, and that the book was actually a compilation of different authors and military strategists. Attribution of the authorship of The Art of War varies among scholars and has included people and movements, including Sun Tzu himself, Chu scholar, Wu Zhu, theorists in Qi or Wu, Sun Bin, and several other military strategists. The use of the strips of other works, however, such as Methods of Sima, is considered proof of Sun Tzu's historical piety. According to Ralph Sawyer, it is very likely Sun Tzu did exist and not only served as a general, but also wrote the core of the book that bears his name. It is argued that there is disparity between the large-scale wars and the sophisticated techniques detailed in the text and the more primitive large-scale battles that many believe predominated in China through the 6th century BC. Against this, Sawyer argues that the teachings of Sun Tzu were probably taught to succeeding generations in his family or a small school of disciples, which eventually included Sun Bin. These descendants or students may have revised or expanded upon certain points of the original text. Skeptics also identify issues with the traditional viewpoint to possibly the art of war, including terms, technology, philosophical ideas, events, and military techniques that should not have been available to Sun Tzu at the time. Additionally, there were no records of professional generals during the spring and autumn period. There were only to the extent of warring states period. So there is doubt as to Sun Tzu's rank in generalship. This caused much confusion as to when the Art of War was actually written. The first traditional view is that it was written in 512 BC by the historical Sun Tzu. Active in the last years of the spring and autumn period, a second view held by scholars such as Samuel Griffith places the Art of War during the middle to late warring period in 400 to 221 BC. Finally, a third school of thought claims that the slips were published in the last half of the 5th century BC. This is based on how it adheres interpret to bamboo slips discovered at the Yunkshan in 1972. In terms of the Art of War, the book itself is traditionally ascribed to Sun Tzu as the primary author. It presents a philosophy of war for managing conflicts and winning battles. It is accepted as a masterpiece on strategy and has frequently cited and referred to by generals and theorists over the centuries since it was first published and translated. There are many theories concerning when the text was completed and concerning the identity of the author or authors, but archaeological recoveries show the Art of War has taken roughly its current form by at least the early Han period. Because it is impossible to prove definitively when the Art of War was completed before this date, the differing theories concerning the work's author or authors and the date of completion are unlikely to be completely resolved. Some modern scholars believe that it contains not only the thoughts of its original author, but also the commentary and the clarifications from later military theorists who interpreted the text. On the military texts written before the unification of China, subsequent book burning in the 2nd century BC, 6 major works have survived from that period. During the much later Song dynasty, these 6 works were combined with a Tang text into a collection called the 7 Military Classics. As a central part of that compilation, the Art of War formed the foundation of the orthodox military theory in early modern China. Illustrating this point, the book was required reading to pass the test for imperial appointment to military positions. Sun Tzu's Art of War uses language that may be unusual in Western text and warfare and strategy. For example, the 11th chapter states that a leader must be serene and inscrutable and capable of comprehending unfathomable plans. The text contains many similar remarks that have long confused Western readers, lacking an awareness of East Asian context. The meanings of such statements are clearer when interpreted in the text of Taoist thought and practice. Despite its title, Art of War addresses strategy in a broad fashion, touching upon public administration and planning. The text outlines theory of battle and also advocates diplomacy and cultivation of relationships with other nations, and also the health of the state. As such, the book has also become popular among political leaders and those in business management. For example, in the 1987 film Wall Street, the protagonist, Gordon Gekko, frequently cites passages from the Art of War as guiding principles for his aggressive trading techniques on Wall Street. On April 10, 1972, in the Yingshan Hang tombs were accidentally unearthed by construction workers in Shandong, China. Scholars uncovered a collection of ancient texts written on unusually well-preserved bamboo slips. Among them were the Art of War and Sun Bin's military methods. Although the Han Dynasty but bibliographies noted the later publication as extant and written as descendant of Sun. It had previously been lost until this time. So finally, in 1972, they found the original text. The rediscovery of Sun Bin's work is regarded as extremely important by scholars, both because of Sun Bin's relationship to Sun Tzu himself and because of the work's addition to the body of military thought in Chinese late antiquity. The discovery as a whole significantly expanded the body of surviving warring states' military theory. Sun Bin's treatise is only known military text surviving from the warring states period, discovered in the 20th century, and bears the closest similarity to the art of war of all the surviving texts. Sun Tzu's Art of War has influenced many notable figures. The Han Dynasty historian Sima Wan recounted that China's first historical emperor, Qin Shi Huangdi, considered the book invaluable in ending the time of the warring states. In the 20th century, Mao Zedong partially credited his 1949 victory over Chiang Kai-shek to the art of war itself. He used the book for his strategies. The work strongly influenced writings about warfare in Mao's Little Red Book, which further influenced communist insurgencies all around the world. The art of war was introduced into Nara, Japan in AD 760, and the book quickly became popular among Japanese military generals. Through its later influence on Sengoku period, the great unifiers of Japan, it significantly affected the unification of Japan in the early modern era. After Meiji Restoration, it remained popular among Imperial Japanese armed forces, including Admiral Hinomoto, which led Japan's forces to victory in the Russo-Japanese War. All of these generals at the time in Japan were avid readers of Sun Tzu and the Art of War. Ho Chi Minh translated the work for his Vietnamese officers to study. His general, Vo Ninh Clap, was likewise an avid student and practitioner of Sun Tzu's ideas. Taoist rhetoric is a component incorporated into the art of war. According to Stephen Combs, in the Sun Tzu and Art of War, the rhetoric of parsimony, warfare is used as a metaphor for rhetoric, and that both are philosophically based arts. Combs writes, warfare is analogous to persuasion, as a battle for hearts and minds. Combs compares Taoist and Aristotelian rhetoric, notably for the differences in persuasion. Taoist rhetoric in the art of warfare strategies is described as peaceful and passive, favoring silence over speech. This form of communication is parsimonous, highly emphasizing the art of war as avoiding confrontation and being spiritual in nature, shapes basic principles in Taoism. In Sun Tzu and the Art of Modern Warfare, Mark McNeely writes that the modern interpretation of Sun Tzu and his Art of War is that there's an importance through Chinese history is critical in understanding of China's push to become a superpower in the 21st century. Modern Chinese scholars explicitly rely on historical strategic lessons that the Art of War has provided in developing all their theories and strategies, seeing a direct relationship between their modern struggles and those of China in Sun Tzu's time. There is a great perceived value in Sun Tzu's teachings and other traditional Chinese writers, which are used regularly in developing the strategies in the Chinese state and its leaders. In all of the 20th and 21st century wars that have happened in modern day, Sun Tzu and the Art of War is regularly referred to by most generals and leaders. Scholars agree that this is the most important military treatise in world history and one of the top 10 books in world history. So as you can see there, from the history of Sun Tzu, a man we know very little about, we know that he was living in 500 and 450 BC in that time frame, the period of the warring states in China, where there were 7 different factions in eastern China that were all battling over territory and resources, that he was a general in that period. He was referred to multiple times in different texts. There's been no clear consensus among historians whether Sun Tzu was the only author of the Art of War or whether he had collaborators, or if people added to it later after his death, which was probably the most likely. It's most likely that he wrote the core of the book and that it was edited and added to over the centuries. But as you can see, Sun Tzu, his military thought, the way it carries into our modern society, both from military and business and societal norms, and the strategies that we use to succeed in life, has become one of the most important individuals and books that we need to know about and be aware of in history. So let's go ahead and take a look at a series of quick videos, and we'll come back and talk about those on the other side.
Welcome to History Uncovered, where we delve into the stories and events that have shaped our world. If you're a fan of history and love learning about the people and events that have shaped our world, then be sure to hit that subscribe button below. We release new videos every day, so you'll always have something new to discover. By subscribing, you'll be the first to know when our latest episodes are released, and you'll be supporting us in our mission to bring fascinating stories from the past to a wider audience. If you have ideas of what we should make a video about next, let us know in the comment section. In this episode, we'll be exploring the life and teachings of Sun Tzu, a legendary Chinese strategist and philosopher. Sun Tzu's work, The Art of War, is one of the most influential treatises on military strategy ever written. But who was Sun Tzu, and what made his teachings so impactful? Sun Tzu was a military general, strategist, and philosopher who lived in China during the Eastern Zhou period, around 544 to 496 BC. He served as a general in the Wu army, and it was during this time that he wrote The Art of War. The book was not only a guide to military strategy, but it also contained insights into human psychology and leadership, making it relevant not only to military commanders, but also to politicians, business leaders, and anyone who wants to be successful in their endeavors. The Art of War is a comprehensive treatise on warfare written by Sun Tzu, a Chinese military strategist who lived during the Eastern Zhou period. The book contains 13 chapters, each focusing on different aspects of warfare, from planning and strategy to the use of force and deception. One of the key themes in The Art of War is the importance of preparation. Sun Tzu emphasizes that victory in warfare depends on careful planning and preparation, and he provides detailed advice on how to prepare for battle. This includes gathering intelligence on the enemy, assessing the terrain and weather conditions, and building strong alliances. Sun Tzu also stresses the importance of ensuring that one's own troops are well-trained, disciplined, and equipped with the right weapons and supplies. He advises that a commander must be able to adapt his plans to changing circumstances and be willing to abandon plans that are no longer viable. Another important theme in The Art of War is the use of strategy and tactics. Sun Tzu argues that a successful commander must be able to outthink and outmaneuver the enemy, rather than relying solely on brute force. He emphasizes the importance of analyzing the strengths and weaknesses of both one's own forces and the enemy, and developing strategies and tactics that exploit these weaknesses. Sun Tzu also stresses the importance of being able to improvise and adapt one's plans in response to changing circumstances. In addition to strategy and tactics, the book also emphasizes the role of deception in warfare. Sun Tzu argues that deception can be a powerful tool in warfare, and he stresses the importance of using it strategically. This can include misleading the enemy about one's own strength, creating diversions, and exploiting the enemy's weaknesses. Sun Tzu also advises commanders to use deception to sow confusion and discord among the enemy, thereby weakening their resolve and making them easier to defeat. The Art of War also explores the nature of leadership and the qualities that make a good leader. Sun Tzu argues that a successful leader must be skilled in strategy and tactics, possess strong character and integrity, and be able to inspire and motivate his troops. He emphasizes the importance of leading by example and advises commanders to share the hardships and dangers of their troops. Sun Tzu also stresses the importance of cultivating loyalty and trust among one's troops and of treating them with respect and compassion. Another important theme in The Art of War is the use of force. Sun Tzu advises commanders to use force only as a last resort and to seek to achieve their objectives through other means whenever possible. He stresses the importance of understanding the nature of the enemy and the terrain, and of choosing the right time and place to engage in battle. Sun Tzu also advises commanders to avoid getting bogged down in prolonged campaigns and to focus on quick, decisive victories. Finally, The Art of War emphasizes the importance of knowing oneself and one's own strengths and weaknesses. Sun Tzu advises commanders to be honest with themselves about their own abilities and limitations, and to focus on developing their strengths while minimizing their weaknesses. He also stresses the importance of maintaining a clear, focused mind in the midst of battle, and of avoiding distractions and confusion. Overall, The Art of War provides a comprehensive and insightful guide to the art of warfare, as well as valuable lessons on leadership, strategy, and personal development that are applicable in many other areas of life. By studying and applying these principles, one can achieve success not only in warfare, but in many other pursuits as well. But what is it about The Art of War that has made it such an enduring and influential text? One reason is its practicality. Sun Tzu's teachings are straightforward and actionable, making them applicable to a wide range of contexts. But perhaps more importantly, The Art of War speaks to something fundamental about human nature. The book is not just about military strategy, but about how to navigate the complexities of human interaction and achieve success in the face of adversity. Sun Tzu's teachings have been applied not only in warfare, but also in a wide range of contexts, from business to sports to politics. The book has been translated into numerous languages and is still widely read and studied today, over 2,500 years after it was first written. So what can we learn from Sun Tzu's teachings today? One lesson is the importance of preparation and planning. Whether you're a military commander, a business leader, or just trying to achieve your personal goals, taking the time to prepare and anticipate potential obstacles can greatly increase your chances of success. Another lesson is the importance of flexibility and adaptability. In today's rapidly changing world, it's important to be able to adjust your plans and strategies as circumstances evolve. Finally, Sun Tzu's emphasis on leadership and the importance of treating your team well is as relevant today as it was over 2,500 years ago. Treating people with respect and providing for their needs is key to building a strong, loyal team that is motivated to achieve the mission. The Art of War has been widely read and studied throughout the centuries, both in China and around the world. Its influence can be seen in the strategies and tactics of many military leaders throughout history, including Napoleon Bonaparte, Douglas MacArthur, and Mao Zedong. In addition, the book has been studied and applied in fields such as business, politics, and sports, where its principles of strategy, tactics, and leadership have proven to be just as relevant as they are in warfare. Sun Tzu's approach to warfare has also had a lasting impact on the development of Chinese military theory. His ideas about the importance of preparation, deception, and strategy continue to be studied and applied by modern Chinese military leaders. In addition, Sun Tzu's emphasis on the role of the commander as a strategist and leader has had a profound impact on the development of Chinese military culture. Outside of China, Sun Tzu's legacy can be seen in the many translations and adaptations of The Art of War that have been produced over the centuries. The book has been translated into dozens of languages and has been studied and applied by military leaders and strategists all around the world. In addition, the book has inspired countless adaptations and interpretations, from business books to self-help guides to modern military manuals. Overall, Sun Tzu's legacy is a testament to the enduring power of his ideas and the timeless relevance of his principles. By emphasizing the importance of preparation, strategy, and leadership, Sun Tzu has provided valuable insights into the art of war and the nature of conflict that continue to be relevant to this day.
So as you can see from that video, Art of War and Sun Tzu are still incredibly impactful today, and all the different principles that they talked about in that video. First one being preparation, planning, strategy, understanding your opponent or your enemy, understanding their strengths and weaknesses, knowing when to choose your battle, choose the time, the place, trying to get the high ground, making sure that you understand your own strengths and weaknesses, understanding leadership principles, leading from the front, leading by example, So many different things that can be taught in terms of military strategy that have application in all the other aspects of our lives, whether it's business, whether it's sports, whether it's school, whether it's politics, even within our own families, for instance. So the principles that have come down from thousands of years ago are still applicable today from The Art of War. So I finally, after going through studying The Art of War, the book, and then all these many years later, understand now why my MBA professor had us read the book and why he had us figure out ways to apply it to business. As you can see, it really does. So let's go ahead and talk about the 13 chapters of the book, and then we're going to go on to another short video after that. So chapter 1 is called Laying Plans. And laying plans, the concept behind the chapter is it's a detailed assessment of planning and strategy and making sure that your plan and strategy are complete and vetted before you actually go into your conflict. Chapter 2 is called Waging War. And Waging War, again, explains how to understand the economy of warfare and how success of warfare is acquired, how winning your engagements decisively in surprise fashion is the way to go. Chapter 3 is Attack by Stratagem, and that defines the source of strength as unity, not size, and discusses the 5 factors that are needed to succeed in any war or conflict. Chapter 4 is Tactical Dispositions. This explains the importance of defending existing positions until a commander is capable of advancing from those positions safely and securely. It teaches commanders the importance of recognizing strategic opportunities to attack or to defend. Chapter 5 is Use of Energy. It explains the use of creativity and timing in building an army's momentum and strength. Chapter 6 is Weak Points and Strong. This explains how an army's opportunities come from the openings in the environment caused by relative weakness of the enemy and how to respond with the strengths of your army. Chapter 7 is Maneuvering the Army. It explains the dangers of direct conflict and how to win those confrontations when they're forced upon the commander, and how in some cases to avoid those conflicts until it's the right day and time. Chapter 8 is Variation of Tactics, focuses on the need for flexibility in the Army's responses. It explains how to respond to shifting circumstances and to change course if necessary. Chapter 9, The Army on the March. It describes the different situations in which an army finds itself as it moves through new enemy territories and how to respond to those situations. Much of this section focuses on evaluating the intentions of the others. Chapter 10, Classification of Terrain, looks at 3 general areas of resistance: distance, dangers, and barriers, and 6 types of ground positions that rise from them. Each of these 6 field positions offered certain advantages and disadvantages. And so we talked a little bit about how important it is to get the high ground, but there are 6 other considerations in this chapter other than just high ground that you need to think about when it comes to ground. Chapter 11, The 9 Situations. This describes 9 common situations or stages in a campaign, from scattering to deadly. The strategic focus is that a commander will need to in order to successfully navigate all 9 of these stages. Number 12 is Attack by Fire. It explains the general use of weapons and the specific use of the environment as a weapon. This section examines the 5 targets for attack, the 5 types of environmental attack, and the appropriate responses to such attack. 2 of the types of attacks, by the way, are by fire and by water. So there's lots of conversation around that in chapter 12. The final chapter is chapter 13, and in some cases the most important, and that is the use of spies. Focuses on the importance of developing good information sources and specifies the 5 types of intelligence sources and how to beat and manage each of them. And if any of you have taken a look at any of our episodes we did on the Civil War and the revolutionary spies, you will see in those episodes how important spies were to those conflicts, and that the winners of those conflicts, in the case of the Civil War, the Union, in the case of the American Revolution, the Americans getting their independence, in each of those cases, they used tremendous numbers of spies using different networks to get the kind of information they needed to win those battles, win those conflicts. So those are the 13 chapters in The Art of War, all of them very comprehensive, all of them very interesting, and give you insights into the overall battle strategy Sun Tzu was talking about that can be carried into any aspect of your life. So let's go ahead and take a look at another short video, and we will come back and talk about it.
All warfare is based on deception. Know thyself, know thy enemy. 1,000 battles, 1,000 victories. Opportunities multiply as they are seized. The supreme art of war is to subdue the enemy without fighting. Victorious warriors win first and then go to war, while defeated warriors go to war first and then seek to win. In war, the way is to avoid what is strong and to strike at what is weak. The greatest victory is that which requires no battle. He who is prudent and lies in wait for an enemy who is not, will be victorious. Pretend inferiority and encourage his arrogance. If you know the enemy and know yourself, you need not fear the result of 100 battles. Let your plans be dark and impenetrable as night, and when you move, fall like a thunderbolt. The opportunity to secure ourselves against defeat lies in our own hands, but the opportunity of defeating the enemy is provided by the enemy himself. If you are far from the enemy, make him believe you are near. The wise warrior avoids the battle. The skillful leader subdues the enemy's troops without any fighting. He captures their cities without laying siege to them. He overthrows their kingdom without lengthy operations in the field. All men can see these tactics whereby I conquer, but what none can see is the strategy out of which victory is evolved. The art of war is of vital importance to the state. It is a matter of life and death, a road either to safety or to ruin. To win 100 victories in 100 battles is not the highest skill. To subdue the enemy without fighting is the highest skill. There is no instance of a nation benefiting from prolonged warfare. When strong, avoid them. If of high morale, depress them. Seem humble to fill them with conceit. If at ease, exhaust them. If united, separate them.
So you can see there in The Art of War, the whole concept of fighting isn't always the best idea. Lay in wait, plan, prepare, be a surprise attack. Make sure you have the high ground. Make sure you have the powerful position. Only attack if you are certain of victory. Only attack if you have the upper hand or you have the advantage. If you do not, then reorganize and wait for another day. And you can see the whole concept of winning battles without any battle at all. The whole concept of if you can use the concept of force or the image of force without actually having to use it. That's really the ultimate in terms of the art of war. So there's lots of psychological things in this book that have nothing to do really with military strategy. They're more the psychology of individuals and of people. And so that's why it applies so much to every aspect of our lives, even today. So let's go ahead and take a look at a short video about the practical applications of the art of war in our everyday lives.
Dear friends, welcome to my video on practical applications for art of war. Kindly click on the CC button for subtitles. 1. Understanding yourself and your opponent. The job interview Sun Tzu says, if you know the enemy and know yourself, you need not fear the result of 100 battles. Replace enemy with employer, and you've got job interview gold. Do your homework, and I mean really dig deep, about the company, the role, and even the person interviewing you. Likewise, understand your own skills and shortcomings. Go into that room armed to the teeth with information, and watch how confidence replaces anxiety. 2. Strategic withdrawal. Dealing with toxic relationships. There's no shame in backing off when you need to. Sun Tzu advises, in war, the way is to avoid what is strong and to strike at what is weak. You don't have to confront every issue head-on, especially when it's affecting your mental well-being. If you're dealing with a toxic relationship, sometimes the best strategy is a tactical retreat to protect yourself. 3. Timing is everything. Investing in the stock market. Sun Tzu's thoughts on timing can be applied to investing. Appear at points which the enemy must hasten to defend, march swiftly to places where you are not expected. In market terms, this could mean striking when everyone else is fearful or hesitating. Understand market trends and be ready to act swiftly when the opportunity arises. 4. The element of surprise. Marketing campaigns, attack him where he is unprepared, appear where you are not expected. In marketing, surprising your audience can make your brand memorable. Whether it's a surprise product launch or a unique social media campaign, keeping people on their toes can be an effective strategy. 5. Adaptability. Managing projects. The general who wins a battle makes many calculations in his temple ere the battle is fought. Planning is crucial, but plans don't always work out. Be prepared to adapt your approach based on new information, resource availability, or unexpected setbacks. 6. Divide and conquer. Team management. Sun Tzu suggests, divide and conquer, as an effective strategy. As a leader, knowing how to delegate tasks and divide labor according to your team members' unique skills is key. You want to play to the strengths of your team and cover for their weaknesses. 7. Taking the initiative. Entrepreneurship. According to Sun Tzu, victorious warriors win first and then go to war, while defeated warriors go to war first and then seek to win. In the startup world, this means doing your homework before diving in. Market research, proof of concept, financial plans, have these in your arsenal before you take the plunge. 8. Focus, personal goals and habits. Sun Tzu says, concentrate your energy and hoard your strength. Don't spread yourself too thin. Whether you're trying to lose weight, learn a new skill, or write a book, focus on one significant goal at a time and pour all your energy into it. 9. Keeping morale high. Family and relationships. The troops must have implicit confidence in their commander. In any relationship or family unit, trust and morale are crucial for harmony and efficiency. Open communication, mutual respect, and a sense of shared purpose are key to keeping everyone's spirits up. 10. The best victory. Conflict resolution. The supreme art of war is to subdue the enemy without fighting. This applies beautifully to conflict resolution. You can win an argument most effectively by finding a solution that both parties can agree on, thereby avoiding the negative fallout that comes from a fight. So, there you have it, 10 real-world applications of the art of war. This ancient manual isn't just for defeating enemies. It's for navigating the complexities of modern life.
So you can see 10 different applications of the art of war just in our common lives. He mentioned a number there: business, sales, marketing, your personal life and personal relationships, conflict resolution, planning, strategy, looking out into the future, looking at conflicts that might be coming your way and trying to avoid those and find a solution that both parties can agree to. So many different applications come out of the art of war, and so hopefully you can take some of those practical ways into your own life. Highly recommend you take a look at Sun Tzu, you take a look at the art of war, read the book itself. It's really worth it. When we did so in my MBA program, I never forgot those principles, and they've really helped me ever since. Take a look at it, even if you have to read one chapter a week or one chapter a month. Just make your way through it. I think it'll be a real eye-opener for you as to how it applies to your life. And hopefully you want to dig a little bit more into Sun Tzu, into the art of war, and into all the principles and leadership qualities that come out of it that can help us in many different ways. So thank you very much for joining tonight. Please like this video and subscribe to the channel. We have a lot of great content coming your way, and we look forward to seeing you next time on Traveling Through History. Hopefully you love history as much as we do. Have a good night.